Hi, and welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and for the next hour, we are going to learn how we can save the environment, one step at a time. But before I begin, as we begin each show, I would like to thank the crew for this evening. Chris Flaherty, Colleen Moore, and Liz Gillespie are here as they faithfully give up their Wednesday evenings to come and help me out, so I definitely want to thank them. And I want to thank my husband Paul for not only staying home for daddy date night, but also bringing my daughter to her dance class. And thank my son for putting up with going to my daughter's dance class. So, if you have a question for our wonderful guests, whom you will meet momentarily, you can always give us a call this evening at 781-270-9199. If you have a question for them and forget their email address, and you will see that a little while later, or if you have a suggestion for a future topic, you could always email me at talk@bcattv.org. So now it is time. We have our business aside. I would love to introduce you to my wonderful guests for this evening, Gretchen, Carey, and Wanita Trabert.
Trabert, yeah.
Yes, I got it right. I should have asked you before. I'm sorry. And both of you are involved in saving the environment, mass recycles, and all that fun stuff that we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you grew up, how you came to the Burlington/Boston area, and what made you decide to go into like environmental sciences or the recycling world? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. That's
okay.
If you don't mind. Okay, so I grew up in Connecticut and went to school at UConn, and then came up here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and then came up here to do an internship. And I actually have a degree in genetics, so I went to the Harvard hospitals to do my internship.
Wow.
So, so that moved me to Boston, and I just loved it and stayed. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you did.
Thank you. I've been here for a really long time now. So something over 25 years. And yeah, I know.
We don't have to tell anybody about that part.
Thank you. Good. Okay. Too late. But yeah, and actually I have been living in Burlington for well over 20.
Excellent.
So we settled down here and then had a daughter who went to school here, and Video Voyagers is how I ended up meeting you. So, yep.
Yay!
And
Well, that was a long time ago. That was like,
yeah, she's
my
in
daughter who
college
just
now.
turned 10 was like a year.
Yes, and I think your son was still, yeah.
Yes, my son wasn't.
Yes, exactly, when you were looking for a babysitter. So yeah, so been around for a while, and my reason for getting involved with this was actually a conversation with my daughter Shannon, who at the time was 8,
Okay.
and was going through the chapter on weather in the science class.
Okay.
And I was saying how mostly we get lucky because it's hurricanes, but they're not so bad up here. And she said, but we just had a tornado. And I said, well,
Yes.
yeah, that's really unusual, and we didn't used to get those, but now that is happening. So that led me to explain what was going on with climate change, and
Okay.
and so she, being 8 years old, looked at me and said, well, what are we going to do about it?
Wow.
And yeah, and I said, well,
Pretty precocious 8-year-old.
yeah, she is that. So yes, and so I said, well, we turn off the water when we brush our teeth, and we recycle. And she looked at me and she put her hands on her hips. And she goes, "No, Mama, this is a big problem. What are we going to do about it?" In the way that only an 8-year-old can make it suddenly make sense to you. And I said,
Oh, I love your daughter dearly, so I'm not picking on her.
Oh,
Okay.
not in the least. No, but she's like that. And you suddenly your child makes you face reality, and you stop and you go, can I get back to you on that? Because I don't know. I thought
we're going
about
to
it,
have to continue this discussion a little later.
Yes,
dear.
I felt like my whole life went, and I suddenly was facing this reality that things are changing, and I'm not doing anything except turning off the water when I brush my teeth and recycle.
Which is a good thing to do.
It is, but it's so so small. And
Yes.
so
Well,
after that, thankfully the recycling committee was created here in Burlington, and I became chairman of that pretty quickly, and worked through the school systems trying to help them set up recycling,
Wow, okay.
paper at least, because at that point some of the schools only did it as like a 5th grade project. and only for part of the year, which is not the message you really want to send. So, so I got, really involved.
Yeah, it's April, Earth Day. We're only going to recycle in April.
That's exactly, it was a lot like that. So,
yeah,
so I figured that was a good place to start. But it went really well. I mean, there were not very many of us on the recycling committee, but for instance, all those green bins that you see on the public spaces, that we did that. So I'm very proud of that. Yeah. And
now we have like ginormous green bins that you can like fit several children in.
Yeah.
Not that they're recyclable,
No.
but they do make good hide and seek places. Okay.
That's true. So so that led to me becoming the recycling coordinator for town of Bedford. So I was doing that part-time for a while, and then ended up at, now I'm, Republic Services is the hauler. We call ourselves haulers because we haul stuff from point A to point B, whether it's trash, recycling, or anything else. And so Republic Services was the hauler for Bedford as well as Burlington. So I got to know them from the other side of the table, and really had respect for them.
Different perspective.
Yeah, exactly, because they were really on the ball. And so when I saw a job come up for recycling coordinator for Republic, I applied, and it has been really great since then. So I've been nearly 3 years there, and started off just being recycling coordinator for the town of, for the Revere division, which is the greater Boston area.
Okay.
But pretty quickly became for the whole state of Massachusetts, and at this point New England is my domain. So it's very cool because I feel like this has been my goal as a recycler, because once again, if I really believe in recycling, I need to get other people on board. And the more people I can get on board, the more this actually is a system, and it works. And so it's been an exciting experience. So it's been probably about 12 years, because she was 8 and she's now 20.
And is your
right? So
how does she approve of your career path?
Oh, sure. She's very proud. And it's funny. It's awesome because this generation, the millennials and younger, all get it. And so I thought it was going to be really geeky for me to be a recycling coordinator, and that she might be embarrassed by it. But I honestly used to get high fives from her friends who felt really involved with the.
I was like, why aren't you old people recycling?
Yeah. I just couldn't, and people say, why do you do it? And I said, I can't picture myself telling her children, we knew what was going on, but I didn't do anything.
We didn't feel like doing anything.
No, I can't. I couldn't say it. So.
Well, I'm glad.
No, thank you. So that's my whole life story right there.
And it was a very lovely story.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
your turn.
I grew up in Wisconsin, and I have lived in this area for it'll be 4 years in February.
Wow.
And let's see, I went to a state school for geology, and then I had a bunch of fun after that for a couple of years, and then I wanted to get serious and go to grad school and didn't really know what to go for. I had an epiphany one day that I loved recycling but didn't know anything about it, and I made a declaration that day that I was going to go to grad school for recycling.
Wow.
And all of my friends were like, is that a thing?
Yeah. I was like, first of all, it's really bold all of a sudden to wake up one morning and say, okay, I think I want to get a master's degree in something that I've never done before.
Right.
And so then by 4 months later, I was accepted into a program that the emphasis was waste management. And so the degree is natural resources management with an emphasis in waste management.
Cool.
So I went to grad school in Wisconsin as well, and I got very engaged in the recycling world. I worked for the state of Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources for a year and a half. I went on a professional adventure to Antarctica.
Wow.
Cool. So
that is cool. We can have a whole show on that.
Story. I really haven't.
I went there for 4 months. And
so does Antarctica recycle?
Yes, they do. They have a rather robust recycling program, and I managed hazardous waste there.
Wow.
And then I literally moved here from Antarctica, and
It's quite a move.
Yeah, it was. It was quite a move, and it was wonderful. It was the year of the really big snowstorms that were happening.
Yeah,
Snowmageddon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was the weather here was much worse than Antarctica at that point in time.
What's wrong with this picture?
Wow, yeah, that says something.
And I worked for a nonprofit organization based out of Boston that works nationwide on policy on how to handle difficult to get rid of things like paint, mattresses, electronics, all the things that you know shouldn't go in the trash, you know not to put in your recycling, or hopefully you know, and you don't know what to do with. And so there's about 25 things that fit into that category. I worked there for a year and certainly learned a lot. It was a great experience, and then found the position for the city of Newton, and I've been there for a little over 2.5 years, and I really love it.
Great. So you guys kind of met each other through Mass Recycles?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Tell me about that, because I had never heard of it until you
Sure.
mentioned that, oh, I'm involved in Mass Recycles. Like, ooh, what's that? It sounds interesting.
Sure.
So tell me more.
Okay. All right. Well, it was actually, I started going to conferences that Mass Recycle throws every year. They have a conference, and I started going years ago and started meeting people, and that helped me when I went to get a job. Those contacts that I made. I mean, I was already volunteering, and that fit in. But one of the contacts that I made, who worked for the DP, suggested that Mass Recycle could use some municipal coordinators as representatives, and
so is it just like a network of...
Okay, so it's basically it's a statewide nonprofit, and it is made of, its goal is to increase recycling and reduce waste. Okay.
Sounds good.
So it is made up of individuals, and they come from like across the spectrum of everything from waste professionals and industry people like myself, to everything, the alpha recycler, we call them, the people who are really interested in recycling. Us before we became professionals. So, and there's lots of those too. We work with sustainability coordinators from businesses, and we, due to a generous generosity of the DEP, all 351 municipalities are actually members as well. So every single municipality has the right to send in 2 representatives to Mass Recycle. So you, if you're listening to this and you don't already have a representative from your town, but you're interested in being that person, feel free to reach out to massrecycle.org. And we'd love to put you on the list.
Do you happen to know if there is anybody from Burlington on?
I do not. I was the rep for a while, but now I'm the president of the board of directors, so
and
they don't. I don't need to be that rep anymore. No, I'm representing Republic Services too. So but I don't. To my knowledge, I haven't met anybody from Burlington at the conferences. So I'd say feel free to reach out.
Cool.
And and that was where I met Wanita, and asked her to well, when I became president, I met Wanita and pretty much said, I think we could save the world together.
Awesome.
Are you busy? Because I think this could really work. And
I got to get you guys capes or something. Oh, no capes. No capes.
No capes.
No capes.
Yes. So Wanita, I don't know how long you've been on the board when that happened. I went through vice president first. So I was at Mass Recycles on the board for about 6 months, and then they made me vice president, and then for the next 5 years I was vice president, and then just 3 months ago became president.
Wow!
So it's been a really cool 3 months. It's been really great because we were in the middle of a recycling crisis, and I was like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna make a difference.
Okay.
So
yeah, I've been on the board for 2 years. Shortly after I started with the City of Newton, I pursued becoming a board member with Mass Recycle, and I had been familiar with the organization, same as Gretchen, from the conference, the annual conference that they have, and I had previously been a speaker in my former job at that conference, and so I knew that it was a very well-respected organization and great for networking and collaboration between the private sector and the municipal sector. And the people above me at the City of Newton are very on board with me engaging at the state level, or at a higher level than just Newton, and bringing Newton's voice to the table. And so I sit on the board representing the voice of Newton and the perspective of
Cool.
a municipality.
Yeah, I should say the conference this year is on March 25th, and that's going to be in Framingham.
Okay.
And so we're at the Sheraton there, and anybody's welcome to come.
The Sheraton is like,
Used to be the Tara Sheraton. I don't think they call it that
yeah, no,
anymore.
it's, I'm just saying, it seems like every conference is always at Sheraton Framingham.
That's right.
Because I'm going to
Oh.
a conference at the Sheraton Framingham
Okay.
in a couple of weeks.
There you go.
So anyway, I digress. What does Mass Recycles do? Is it an educational thing?
Sure.
Is it legislation? Or
all of the above. Yeah.
Tell me more. And you also mentioned a recycling crisis.
Sure. Okay.
I want to know more about that too.
Okay.
So take your pick. What do you want to answer first?
And then we'll go to recycling crisis, because that could be the rest of the time. So Mass Recycle is we consider ourselves like the practical environmental group. Okay, and we say this because we have people both environmentally interested, like myself and Wanita, but also and just plain environmentalists. But we also have the industry representatives, which means that
Okay.
we are talking to each other to say, okay, here's how the system really works. How can we make it better?
Ah,
Okay, so it's that intersection of recycling industry and environmentalism. So everybody who sits on the board, you know, if you're in an industry, you are also a diehard environmentalist, and therefore
But
we're all
making
trying
industry change
Yes.
is often difficult.
Sure. But at the same time, if you're an environmentalist pushing really hard on something and not knowing how the system works, you could break it. And then suddenly
Hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, we literally can't do our jobs because some new law has been made that says, you know, now it doesn't work for us and puts us out of business
Yeah.
financially. So it's good
So
to
finding that balance.
Yeah, so it's good to have us. Like, we're literally sitting there over the table going, how can we make this better? And we've just done it. In fact, this last year have made some real progress. So so for instance. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so for instance, across Massachusetts, every municipality, every town, and every recycling facility used to have a different list of what they accepted,
Ah, yes.
which made it really hard to educate to, and really hard to, you know, for everybody's trying to figure out, well, in my town we take this, and in my school we take this, and how do you, and everybody, in the end, everybody just gives up and says, I don't even know, you know? So instead, this
kinda like
about a
come up
month
with
and a half
standardized-
ago, right, a month and a half ago, all of the haulers, the recycling facilities, got together with the Department of Environmental Protection, and we made one list to cover all of Massachusetts.
Cool.
So a list of things we want and a list of things we definitely don't want because they damage our machines.
Oh,
Which is
okay.
one of those things where we get a lot of people who are really excited about recycling and want to throw everything in that could possibly be recyclable. And the fact is, if you throw in things that we cannot, our system does not sort out, it ends up as trash. Only it's much more expensive trash now because we've spent people's time and energy sorting it.
Okay.
It just ends up as trash.
What are some of those, before we get into the crisis, but what are some of the things that should not be recycled that everybody thinks should be? Like the plastic drinking straws. Is that a yes or a no?
That's a no. That's a no. Do you want to do this one? Go ahead. I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, no, certainly. Straws are a no.
But they're plastic.
Yes.
They mess up the machines.
They fall through the machines.
Yeah, they're not
Oh.
actually the right size to be captured. And so something that most folks don't know, a vast majority of folks don't know, is what actually happens to single stream recycling, where it goes, and how it is separated back out into the different material types, paper, plastic, metal. So the machines that Gretchen is talking about there's all sorts of sorters and separators that sort things by size and shape, and in some cases by weight. And so straws, they fall through the machine and they're not large enough to be captured. So while technically straws, the type of plastic, it can be physically recycled, it's not able to be captured in our existing machinery. So it's more of a sorting issue than not recycling them. But I would say that when you're talking about recycling things, you need to have the same type of material and you need to have a lot of it so that the scale of economy is there, or the economy of scale is there, to make it worth the while to have the system to separate it out.
Okay.
So So not all plastics end up being recyclable because
Okay.
of that one barrier. So other types of materials that cause a lot of problems that folks have good intentions by putting it into their curbside recycling bin. The biggest one is plastic bags.
Like the grocery store ones.
Yes.
So
grocery ones.
I would say
Now, grocery stores oftentimes
take them back.
take them back. And what do
Correct.
they do with them?
so that is the only system that those bags can be collected and recycled.
okay.
The largest buyer of that type of material, we call it film plastic. It's any of that stretchy,
Okay.
flimsy, flexible plastic.
Because there are some plastics from like some retail establishments that are heavier.
We
Yes.
don't want bags of any kind.
No bags.
So, and
Okay.
same thing with, like, for instance, the plastic covering of if you bought a bunch of water bottles and
Yeah.
the shrink wrap,
Yeah.
that it can also go to the grocery store. We do not want that in our system. The problem is
okay.
we have a system that at a certain point becomes rods with spinning discs, and it's much like what happens with your hair in the beater bar of a vacuum. It just wraps
was
right
just
around.
thinking
and-
that.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we have to spend
it's
hours
just ugly.
cutting them off with a knife. That just stops the entire system.
Okay.
And we have to cut
Not real
them off.
cost effective at that point.
No,
Exactly.
no,
and
no.
so this
Okay,
is
so any plastic film-like material
Yes. Go
or
to the
grocery
bag-like
store.
material can go back to the grocery store.
Yes, correct. And,
Okay.
and we actively encourage folks to take it back to a retail location. And there's a national campaign specifically to collect that film plastic.
Cool.
And what that particular plastic turns into most commonly is composite lumber. So like the
yeah.
Trex, the composite decking.
Yeah.
They're a big buyer of that domestically.
Cool. I've also seen like park benches made out of plastic
Yes,
now.
exactly.
Ah,
That's
okay.
where it
Yeah,
goes.
same
I
type
thought
of
those
thing.
were milk jugs.
So milk jugs can also go into it. They combine like sawdust and various types of recycled plastic, and it kind of depends on what the end use will be, but
Okay.
that can happen too.
Okay, so what other things we should not recycle that people often do? Like,
Sure. Things
Straws?
with food in them is a biggie. Okay.
okay,
So
how much
we-
food is too much food? I mean, trying to
okay.
get all the ketchup out of the ketchup bottle or
Sure.
the.
Okay, so I got a couple.
Okay.
Got a couple
right.
cheats for that one.
I'll be
so
quiet.
No. I mean, we've got no. It's just people ask this a lot. So for instance, I always say, first of all, get your money's worth. So if you've got a ketchup bottle standing on its head, then use all the ketchup. That does most of it, right? And then a quick rinse, not
Okay.
washing it. Don't put it in the dishwasher. Don't waste the water. You know,
Yeah, see,
you don't want to
that's-
say
yeah.
you don't want to use resources trying to save resources, right? So, so for instance, if it's oil, an oil jug, or
Yeah.
for the love of God, do not try to wash out a laundry detergent bottle because it's the rest of your life with the bubbles. Okay, so turn it on its head, come back, use what's left of it, you know,
Okay.
all of it, and then put the lid back on. And the fact is that what we want for plastics right now, if you're going to describe it, this new list has gone over to we do not see 1 through 7. We don't care what number it is anymore.
Okay.
We want bottles and jugs and containers with lids.
With lids.
Yep. And we want them clean and empty.
What if it doesn't have a lid?
Well, the only thing that I've come across that is a yogurt container with a tinfoil lid.
Yeah.
Yeah, throw away the tinfoil, but clean out the yogurt container.
Okay, so you
and
don't
we want that.
necessarily need the lid in
Nope.
order to recycle it,
Nope,
but if
it's
you
okay.
purchase it with a lid.
Correct. If it's the sort of thing that comes. So, for instance, your
Okay.
margarine jug, your margarine tub
Okay.
has a lid too,
Yes.
right? So that's something we're looking for.
Okay.
And the fact is that the computer eye sees it as it goes through, identifies what kind of plastic it is, and hits it with a puff of air that makes it jump into a bin.
Cool.
But the problem is that, for instance, if you leave half of your yogurt in there, it's too heavy and it won't jump, so it ends up as trash.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So the same thing with your half-filled water bottle, right? We want
Okay.
your water bottle because it's very good plastic. At the same time, if it has something in it, it's not going to jump. So we ask for empty, clean, and dry is the mantra that Republic
okay.
has. So we also don't want all of that food to end up on the paper.
So
'Cause
like
it's
the
all getting
pizza
thrown in
boxes
together.
are a no.
The pizza boxes are at this point they are. Go ahead, you say.
So pizza boxes are a usually. So if you frequent a pizza establishment that has a liner at the bottom of the box
Ah, okay.
that catches most of the cheese and the grease, You can pull that liner out, put it in the trash, and the box is good to go in the recycling.
So if there are a few little grease dots, it's okay.
Grease dots are okay.
That's okay.
They're not a problem.
But a big smear is a...
Yeah, with the stuck-on cheese.
I would say the stuck-on cheese is the big problem, and I would also say, folks that leave the sauces or the crusts in the box, that's the problem. So you need to clear out the box and then
that's kind of common sense.
The general rule is we want your container. We don't want the food and drink that came with it.
Got it.
So paper, cardboard, bottles, cans, plastic containers, all of the above. We want those. We don't want what came in it.
Now, one thing that I've always been curious about, and people ask me, and I'm like, I don't know. Like kids' juice boxes, or sometimes you get like juice in a quart-sized thing that's like foil lined. It's kind of cardboard, but like wax covered. And
as of now, it's a no.
That's a no.
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing with Gable Tops, the milk and orange juice.
Okay.
The problem was that you had to. When they sorted that out, it
empty,
had to be
but
kept with its own kind. So they would have to wait until there were enough milk and orange juice containers. And let me tell you, that can take a while, first of all, because they're not that frequent, and they smell to the high heavens. By the time you save them for months to get a container, like
especially the milk.
Yeah. So those are no longer something that we want to recycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the juice boxes are a no.
Correct.
Yeah, we call them cartons or aseptic containers, and they're becoming more frequent. But as Gretchen said, we don't collect enough of them. They're less than 3% of the entire recycling stream, and so it's very difficult to get that economy of scale that I mentioned before.
Yeah. So the recycling system is really not made for everything plastic. It's made for specific things that, whether it's the computer eye sees it, or whether it's metal so it sticks to a magnet, or, it's got a sorting system. And if you throw things in that you hope are recyclable and they're not, they're going to end up as trash.
Okay.
And to be very, very clear, the whole bag thing, the plastic bag things, not only do we not want your plastic bags from the grocery store, we really, really don't want you to put your recycling into the bag and tie up the bunny ears at the top, because that bag will end up as trash.
And everything inside the bag.
I saw it today. I was at a recycling facility this morning, and they that's it. It's out, because they're not going to rip it open. What if there's sharp things in there? If people are doing it, it's a danger to them. So if you are bagging your recycling, please be really sure to stop that right away. We want your recyclables. We just don't want the bags with them, because that bag will also end up wrapped around our machinery. So that's a no. So that's really common.
Paper bags are okay if you absolutely must use something like that, but loose in the cart or the bin is the best way to go.
Is better.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Another people often put styrofoam in.
I was just about to ask. Styrofoam, yes or no?
Okay, so what happens is the people who put these triangles on all these different plastics and everything else have nothing to do with the people who recycle this. Okay. And therefore, when you say, well, there's a triangle on it, that means you should be able to recycle it. It's not actually the case. There's a complete disconnect there. Styrofoam has a triangle on it because it's trying to tell you that it's extruded polystyrene. That's a type of plastic it is.
Okay.
Okay, so the problem with that material is that it is basically air with bubbles around it. You can tell because it's super light, right? It's mostly just air.
It floats.
And so the way you would recycle that material is to hit it with, let's say, a giant hair dryer. It would just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shrink eating style. So it would melt in on itself. But you have to have 18 wheelers full of it in order to get a cube that's about this big in the end.
Okay.
And after you have transported it and used a lot of heat on it, this cube is not worth $1 million.
Yeah.
It is not worth much of anything.
Yeah.
So therefore, there's no financial model in this area
Okay.
to handle styrofoam. So we do not take that in the single stream.
Okay.
So we do not want those Dunkin' Donuts styrofoam cups or your, when you moved and that sort of thing. It is all trash. Okay. So all those
Feels like the
things
meat
are,
containers are still kind of coming in. Like
yeah,
if you buy
they still do, and we
ground
still
beef or
don't want it.
something.
Nor do we want the shrink wrap that comes on the outside of it either.
Yeah, no, that's just gross.
It is gross. You're right about that. Yep.
Now, jumping back to Master Cycles.
Yes. You asked about
all of
education.
these.
Want to take that one? You asked about
Master Cycle.
what we do, Master Cycle.
Yes. Now, jumping back to them, would one of the things that the organization is doing, do you work with industries like the juice, Minute Maid juice containers or something? Do you work on changing the manufacturing standards so these products no longer go on the market? Like, I remember a long time ago when I was growing up, McDonald's used to have the Quarter Pounder in a foam clamshell thing, and now it's cardboard. So
Not exactly. Okay.
Yeah, so I would say that is not happening right now. There are other entities, other nonprofit organizations throughout the country that focus on that disconnect between the recycling and waste sector and the packaging, manufacturing, and kind of product development sector. So our group doesn't focus on that because that needs to be much much wider,
global,
not just
Basic,
Massachusetts.
exactly. It's not Massachusetts specific. What we focus on in Mass Recycle is improving the recycling infrastructure. We want to help municipalities offer access to curbside recycling or drop-off recycling, and I would say we're interested in and have worked on enhancing public space recycling. So there's a demonstration.
Oh, you mean like at schools or at, on the town common or something? That kind of?
So we have a pilot project that we have been working on with the MBTA.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, on the Red Line, there's some recycling kiosks that we have put out there, and the model is sustainable because we have advertising space on them, and so so that pays for the kiosks, and so that's the eventual goal is to provide recycling throughout the MBTA.
So that commuters can toss their newspapers.
So they have a place.
Exactly, newspapers,
soda
water
cans.
bottles, soda cans, that type of thing.
Okay.
So that's the type
But
of
not their Dunkin' Donuts foam cups.
correct.
Yep. Yeah, so that's one of the things we do is pushing into the concept of public space. Another thing we offer is education to all of the people. So we do a lot of work with, for instance, people who then teach other people to recycle.
Oh,
so Wanita and myself, like I work for a hauler, she works for a town, but the education is to people like us who then go educate other people.
Okay, kind of like a train the trainer type model.
Yep. And we are, certainly welcome the people who are really interested, and we have information on our website. For instance, Wanita and I have just started a podcast because we felt like so many things were happening in the recycling world that trying to keep up was tough. And we were trying to figure out some way to kind of give that information on a regular basis. So we now, if you go to massrecycle.org, there under education, we have a podcast that we have 2 episodes, and we just made the 3rd today.
Yay!
So
now how long is the podcast?
They're like 20 minutes, something
20
like
minutes
that.
or under.
And we're going to have guest speaker. We have guest speakers. So sometimes if the DEP is rolling out something, we'll have them in.
Wait, what's
or
DEP?
Department of Environmental Protection.
Okay.
They're the ones who make the rules about waste in this.
A lot of acronyms, so I just want to.
Sorry, no, you're absolutely right. I try to. Usually, I'm really keen on that, but.
Or I could sit here for 20 minutes trying to figure out. What
No,
it means.
I'd rather you ask because I'm sure you're not alone out there. Yeah.
So the podcast, that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
So podcast, we do webinars. We have the conference coming up. We just had a fundraiser, which is it was actually at the New England Aquarium, and part of what we did was talk about plastic in the oceans.
Yeah. Now.
Which is
tangent.
Yeah, sure. We're all about that.
You see these news clips on Facebook or whatever, like the hourglass-shaped turtle because it got stuck in, or the turtle that has the straw up its nose.
Yes.
I mean, is that real, or is that just like scare tactics?
No, that's real. I mean, yeah, that's it. One of the things plastic bags do is look like jellyfish. So sea turtles eat them. And if you go on the web and you say, plastic in birds, you will see that they've done a number of people. They have so much plastic in their gut because they eat these little things thinking that they're food and literally starve to death because they've got just
They eat
plastic,
plastic
which doesn't
and-
digest at all.
Yeah.
And it's plastic on a micro level where the fish are eating it, thinking it's something worthwhile, all the way up.
Wow.
It is just horrifying. There's a lot of plastic in the ocean. And the problem is that plastic does not, it breaks down to the point where it's now small beads,
Okay.
which then gets eaten by
Fish.
small things, yes.
Okay.
And so it
works
doesn't
its way
go
up the food
away. It just
Okay.
persists in nature. And so, we don't even know at what point plastic actually breaks down. As they put it, it breaks up.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't go away.
Right.
Something that broke down would eventually be part of nature again. It's still
It's
persisting.
not compost.
right.
It's-
So we need to find a new way, a way to lessen the amount of plastic that
Now
we're
I've
doing.
seen like some cans in the grocery store that have like solid plastic discs on them, which is kind of cool.
Okay, I haven't seen that. Do you know what you're
I
saying?
have, yeah,
Okay.
to avoid the little rings.
To avoid the rings.
Oh, I see.
And we're always sitting there chopping up the rings,
Right,
and I'm
yes,
like, okay,
yeah,
did I
yeah.
miss any circles?
Right,
And-
right.
Yeah.
And
Like-
people will probably try to want to recycle those, but the fact is they're not.
Yes.
That
Oh, those
top
aren't
is
either.
not going to be. It's going to be, we want containers with lids, right?
Containers with
So-
lids.
Yep, goes back to that. So that is recyclesmartma.org is that website.
Oh, okay.
And I highly recommend it. All of the haulers in Massachusetts have agreed
Okay.
that their lists are going to look like this list. So if you're
Cool.
whoever is picking up your recycling, you can go by this list all across the
Okay.
state. And the recyclesmartma.org also has the list of like the 5 things we want, the things we really don't want. It has a video in the middle in case you're interested in seeing what a recycling facility looks like as it's
That would be
working.
cool.
It is very cool. And then the last thing it has is for the people who are really curious about, but what about yogurt container? If it doesn't have a lid, is it still recyclable? There are 400 searchable words
Wow.
that you can,
Okay.
it's called a recyclopedia, they call it. And you can go and, poke around to your heart's desire on this site to find out all the
Cool.
answers that you want to know. So, so Mass Recycle is all about the education and
Okay.
all about, I'll let Wanita explain because she is awesome at this. The idea, go ahead, extended producer responsibility and,
Yes.
so this
So-
is, go ahead.
We do work on advocacy, and
Okay.
so what Gretchen just mentioned is extended producer responsibility. It is the concept that why is it on the taxpayer and on the municipality to manage all of these materials? How did that system come about, and why are we as taxpayers bearing the burden of these materials that we had no say in hitting the store shelves? So
Okay.
the original manufacturer is designing a product and certainly, formerly not thinking at all about the full life cycle of that product and what needs to happen on the tail end. I think now many more manufacturers are looking in that direction
Okay.
and know that consumers want that forward thinking. But there's a lot of products out there that don't have that system. And again, paint comes to my mind, electronics comes to my mind, mattresses, things that, again, are very difficult to get rid of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you kind of need a mattress.
Oh yeah, you
When you
definitely
get-
need
When
it.
you get rid of it though,
Yeah,
what do you do? Where does it go?
exactly.
You can't just throw it in the trash.
Exactly. And so what extended producer responsibility does is it essentially shifts the entire structure. And so it puts the responsibility onto the producer for the collection and for the ultimate disposal, whether that be, as trash or in some recyclable fashion, of course, preferably, to manage that system. And so it ideally puts the cost back onto the producer,
Okay.
which then incentivizes them to have the full life cycle at mind.
Okay.
And so
So they don't have to actually dispose of it. They just have to let everybody know how they're supposed to dispose of it.
So in some systems that are currently working, the U.S. has approximately 300 laws that fall into this category.
Wow.
In Massachusetts, we don't really have any right now, but Vermont has 8 working programs. Connecticut has 6 working programs. So for example, in Connecticut, you can go to the hardware store, and when you buy a gallon of paint, you will pay a 75-cent charge that goes into a fund that is managed by the manufacturers.
Okay.
And then when you are done with that paint, you have, a quarter left that you couldn't use for your project. You now can come back to the same hardware store and return that gallon of paint. And the way that it is disposed, or it ultimately does get recycled if it's relatively new, is paid for by that fund managed by the manufacturers.
Okay, so it's kind of like the deposit on the soda can.
It's similar to that.
thing.
Yep. It is similar to that.
Kind of.
Right.
When I worked,
You bring it back, you get your money back. Well, you don't get the 75
so
cents
this
back.
you don't get it,
But you
don't
get
it
to
back.
dispose of
But
it.
you also
Correct.
don't get told to put kitty litter into your half a gallon of paint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And waste
Right.
it and put it out to the trash, where then it becomes the municipality's problem for this heavy
Got it.
material, right?
Which is the answer right now in
Yeah.
Massachusetts,
Yeah.
which is
Right.
that's for latex paint. If it's flammable paint, you need to take it back to your household hazardous waste day. And then again, it's still the burden on the municipality to take care
Got
of.
it.
When I worked for the state of Wisconsin, they had a law for, it's an extended producer responsibility law for electronics. And so
Yeah, like
if-
computers and
your old TVs,
televisions
the old
Things
big
with
bulky
batteries, yeah.
televisions, and all sorts of new gadgets and gizmos that are coming out. So what happened there is the manufacturers were responsible for collecting and recycling a certain portion of what was collected in the state based on the amount of material that they sold.
Okay.
And so that did not have any user fee. And so
okay.
it was essentially on the manufacturer to put that price into the
Build it
purchase
in.
price.
Okay.
And so it was cost internalization. So
All these new words that I'm learning.
yes.
This is her wheelhouse for sure. I just love listening to her talk about this because there's so many cool things going on. It's not happening in Massachusetts yet, but that's part of what Mass Recycle is working on.
Yes, definitely.
Well, it's nice
So
that
that's a
there
big
are
picture,
like models set up that you can.
Right.
Absolutely. There are definitely these other systems that we are looking at and advocating for policies for Massachusetts that would greatly benefit particularly municipalities, but in general across the system it would be better than what we have now.
Right, and thanks to Wanita and a few others at Mass Recycle, we actually have a study of what has worked in other states and where it has gone wrong in other states, because we don't want to be
Yeah, you don't want to duplicate the wheel if the wheel is square.
Right, exactly, and so the nice thing about having this kind of nexus of industry and environmental is that we have people who have a lot of experience in different fields. So yeah,
Cool.
so it's a pretty cool group. Yeah, we have a lot of potential to do a lot of good, and we're thrilled to be there. Let's put it that way.
So what are some of the things? I definitely don't want to run out of time.
I'm certain we will.
We will, but so I want to make sure. What are ways that individuals can make small changes that will eventually help out the environment or help out Mass Recycle or whatever?
Sure.
Like, turning your water off while you brush your teeth. But I mean,
and that's
bigger
big-
than that.
no, but that's a big
what
thing.
else?
I mean,
if everybody does that,
if everybody carried a reusable water bottle, you would save thousands. I mean, I figure I can go through 6 water bottles in a day easy. All right, I drink a lot. So that's 40-something water bottles a week, right? That's adds up really fast. So 40 times 4, thousands.
If everybody on your street did the same
Thousands
thing,
of water bottle, exactly. So that alone would be a really big deal.
Okay.
Another easy fix is, and I know everybody says this, but bringing a reusable bag to the grocery store. And everybody says to me, like, I do, but then I leave them in my trunk, or I forget them in the house. So yes, I understand. You have to get them to the car, then you have to get them from the car to the grocery store. You can do it. You really can. Okay, so, but once you do...
And then there's also the people who, continue to use them and they get really gnarly and they still use them.
You should wash them once in a while, just trade them out when they get...
Or the bagging person says, oh, it's a fabric bag. I'm going to put 6 gallons of milk in it.
Oh,
and you're like,
yeah. No, so you got to watch that. But
Okay.
yes, But I figure
Yes.
doing the math on how many plastic bags I used 10 years ago when I started doing this, I have saved about 10,000 plastic bags.
Wow.
10 years, that's it.
Cool.
So if every person, if you even remember every other time, you're still making a really big difference. So especially because, we can't take them in the recycling bin, and, we need to replace them with things that are reusable.
Okay. So there are still people that don't, so these are new enough concepts that they could still make an impact. It's not like 90%. Okay.
I'm at the grocery store regularly, and why am I the only one with my reusable bags?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to look around and say, it's not that hard. You can do it. Even something like the other day, I realized I was using plastic bags for my snacks and my lunches, and I had seen somebody else who was using like a wrap of some sort that was waxed. Yeah, I haven't tried that, but I thought to myself, okay, I could easily put this in a Tupperware and put it in my lunchbox instead of in a plastic bag. So I hardly use plastic bags at all anymore. Whereas it used to be every day I had a couple of them, and that adds up too. And why use the temporary plastic when I can be using something that's washable instead? And just gets thrown in the dishwasher, right? So
And a lot of stuff is now being dishwasher safe.
it is.
Yeah,
There's a
definitely.
lot that's come out. So those are simple fixes. Do you have anything else that's that easy that I've missed?
No, I think those are definitely the big ones that have, I would say, a reusable coffee cup or hot cup as well for folks that are into coffee or tea. That's another one that's very easy to incorporate into your routine and can offset a lot of disposable cups.
I don't know if all coffee shops do this, but I've started to use my reusable iced coffee cup.
Awesome. They do. A lot of them
And
do.
they give you a discounted rate.
Yes, they do sometimes.
If you are not, if you bring the refillable.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I found that out late and felt pretty stupid not having known that. But, I said, if only they would take my travel mug. And somebody said they do. And I thought, why didn't I think to ask that sooner, or whine about it sooner? So, so I went into several different coffee. That one week I tried everybody. And everybody was very agreeable. In fact, they're like, oh, do you want me to rinse it out for you? They were super pleasant about it. And
You just want to make sure it's not labeled with their competitor.
Well, that's probably a good
That's
call,
kind of awkward.
Yes, exactly. But that is a great way to do it because I'm traveling all the time, but now I bring my own mug when I go.
Okay.
And so just that alone, I know I work a lot with businesses. At Republic, I do a lot of education for businesses, but one of the things I do is a waste assessment where I walk through, say, a 30-story building. And we'll pick 6 or 8 floors, and we'll see what they have for trash and how they could be, whether they could be recycling better.
They actually do that in the schools here,
Oh, that's good.
elementary schools.
I didn't know that. That's
They
good.
they dissect the trash.
Oh,
after
very
lunch.
good.
Yes, that's great.
A waste audit. Yeah, that's awesome. So what I found is that I've walked into a couple of buildings and thought, where is everything? And it turns out when I look around, everybody in that building has a mug instead of a disposable. They all have the company mug sitting on their desk and the company water bottle.
Ooh.
And you hardly have anything left over.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that is a really good thing. So that's a simple, easy thing to do. But think about how you can kind of do things just that little bit differently. Those are major.
Now I'm also thinking, we had the discussion about straws earlier. I actually found the silicone silicone
Either one.
Straws. Yeah.
straws that can actually get thrown in the dishwasher and
Right,
reused
reusable ones.
Sure.
a lot of
sure,
times,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
really cool.
Sure.
But then I'm also noticing, like some stores that some restaurants that I go to, have straws, but they're not like that smooth plastic. They're almost like grainy.
Are they paper?
Some
of them are going over to paper.
I don't think they're paper. They do still feel like plastic, but I'm wondering, like, some restaurants also have the fork and the plastic utensils that are made out of like corn or
Right,
something.
right.
I'm wondering, do they do that out of straws too, or?
And I should say that the ones that are made out of corn, unless you're actually composting your meal,
Yeah.
it's not any better. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
utensils are too small and they fall through the system, the recycling
Okay.
system. So they.
But if they
they're
land up in a
not-
landfill, do they at least disintegrate? I mean,
Well, ironically, that's not what you want them to be doing, because if they break down underground with no air, that means they create methane. So you don't want that either. So if you have a completely compostable system, like a restaurant like Clover, for instance, where you walk in and everything they give you, you can throw in the same bin at the end because it's all compostable. It means
Cool.
It's food and all of that stuff made out of starch, basically. But otherwise, you're just paying a lot of money for stuff that isn't any different than it's trash. It's all trash.
Wow.
Correct.
So yeah, and utensils, thank you, because utensils, that's another one where if, for instance, I used to bring plastic utensils and then wash them because my husband said, why don't we just get you a couple of cheap metal ones and you can just take them back and forth to work. Well, that turned out to be much easier. You know, you throw it in the dishwasher, right? Thank goodness I have a husband for that. but yeah, so
I'm sure he's good for a few other things.
Yeah, he is. And but that's
So what's wrong with reusing the plastic ones?
There's nothing wrong with it, but if
okay.
you're going to reuse them anyway, why not just get cheap metal ones, right?
That's
And then
true.
you actually have ones that don't bend or melt or anything
Break
else.
or
One of the
break,
times on the
yeah.
fork break out.
Well, yeah, exactly, and then that hurts.
Now, are like utensils recyclable, or do they fall through the cracks
They
too?
all fall through. No, all of the utensils fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
So once again, if you're talking about plastics, we want containers, jugs.
With lids.
That's right. That's
Containers,
it. If you
jugs,
can't,
bottles.
if you're
If you
looking at
buy it with a lid,
that's right.
you
If
can recycle it.
That's right, and we'll put the lid back on, and it's ours. You know. So yeah, if you're looking at a plastic doohickey, if it isn't,
Okay.
if it doesn't fit into that category, please don't put it in the recycling.
Okay.
Because all this stuff does end up as trash, and there's just way too much trash in the recycling. That's a really big problem right now, which leads us to that worldwide problem. we're
So
talking
that's the
about.
crisis.
The crisis,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, tell me more about the crisis.
Okay.
And what we can do about it
Okay. All right. So the short version
that we
is,
haven't talked about yet.
Okay. The short version of what you can do about it
Yeah.
is please don't throw in things into the recycling that do not belong there.
Okay.
Okay. Please rinse your stuff off so there's no food on it. And please don't throw in what is essentially trash. Okay?
Okay.
Paper, cardboard, bottles, cans, plastic containers.
Now, I heard a rumor, like if they do find non-recyclables in your recycle bin, they chuck the whole thing.
She can talk about that.
So I would say
Is that a rumor?
I would say it is a rumor.
Okay.
It's
Those
not
urban
that
myths.
I would say that it's not that it has never happened before, but the likelihood of an entire load being so contaminated that it ends up the entire thing as trash is very unlikely.
Okay.
It has happened, and especially if you think of an apartment complex where there's two giant dumpsters that get emptied every day, every other day. There's probably a lot of folks there that may not even know which one is the recycling and which one's the trash, and so they're putting them in together. That is the type of thing that's going to contaminate an entire load. When you pick up a 10-yard dumpster, put it into the truck, and if it was half trash and half recycling, that can do a lot of damage to that entire truckload. If it's one person's recycling that they put in a lot of stuff that shouldn't be there, things that are half full of food, or a lot of paper towels. Paper towels is a big one that we don't want in the recycling.
Really? But they're
Yes.
paper.
So that kind of goes along with the same, not all plastics
lead,
are recyclable. We say we want cardboard and printed paper. So things like napkins and paper towels, those are going to most often be made from recycled paper. But
Okay.
if you think about what happens when those things get wet at all, they basically disintegrate. And so they're unlikely to go through the recycling system and be managed the same way as paper. They're kind of just going to end up sticking to everything else and kind of causing contamination. And also, ultimately, if they make it to the paper, the actual paper fibers, if you rip it and hold it up to the light, the actual paper fibers that you will see, all the little spikes that stick up, those are too small to be caught in the paper recycling process. And so those materials can either be composted or put in the trash, but they are contamination to the recycling stream. But if someone's recycling is contaminated with a lot of that type of thing, and it's loaded into a truck, but most of the other people in that neighborhood were doing things mostly right, it's not going to end up with a situation where the entire truckload is rejected.
Okay.
No. And it's I will add to that too. I just saw this today. Please don't put shredded paper into your recycling bin. It's like when it gets to the recycling facility. And it gets on
Okay.
every other thing there. So unfortunately, shredded paper.
But we're helping.
I know. Yeah, I know. And I was
We're
definitely
breaking it down for you.
I was definitely that person who thought that they could recycle my shred, but it doesn't work very well.
So what happens to shredding paper?
It ends up in the glass. Because what happens is the glass gets broken into small pieces, and anything that small falls through with it.
Okay. No, I'm just wondering, like, what happens? So shredded paper is now trash? Because like
I'm
they have
planning
like
on making a bonfire in my backyard. Okay.
well, because I'm just saying, like, there are
because-
some companies that have like the mobile shredding unit.
They
and
would
that
have
gets-
their own
That's
connections, right? They were going to have their own connection. This is I'm talking in a single stream toter or bin.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would find a different outlet for shredded paper, like a shred day.
Okay.
That is going to be able to go directly to a paper recycling facility. It will cut
Okay.
out going to the middleman or the processing
Okay.
center where our curbside single stream goes
So like
to.
the single stream, it would go to just a paper place.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
And they will
Okay.
use it directly to, and they have. I've
Now-
been to a paper making facility, and they do take in large amounts of shred. So
Now, if
and-
somebody did have large amounts of shred because they took all of their tax forms for the last 30 years and decided to shred them,
right.
could they bring them directly to, I don't know.
Not to a paper facility.
I think it would be unlikely for
trying to
that to
figure out what-
happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that is a
Oh,
situation,
you haven't seen my house.
if that is a situation, I just mean unlikely to happen that a paper recycling facility would accept a drop off from
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's
a
unlikely.
individual. You may be able to reach out to a shredding company, and they may, for a
okay.
small fee, accept that from you.
Okay.
But I think the best thing to do would be to have them do the shredding and then manage the material on the other end.
Yeah.
Shredded paper composts really well also.
That's
so
true.
if you compost in your backyard or have a service that is collecting food scraps, you can put it in with that as well.
Yeah, there's some towns that actually have like a smaller tote for composting.
Yes.
Yeah, we call it organics, which is an industry term for food waste. So yeah, organics pickup. It doesn't mean made without chemicals. It means organic food waste. So things that are-
Organic matter, yeah.
Organic matter, exactly. And that is definitely becoming a thing. Something like 30% of everybody's waste is actually organic. So whether
Wow.
it's food waste or yard waste, if you end up throwing that into the trash, either it gets burned in a waste to energy plant, which is a waste, because it's wet and therefore it's not giving as much energy as all that, or it ends up in a landfill where it then creates methane, which is a greenhouse gas. So what we really would prefer to do is to pick that up separately. And as of 2014, in Massachusetts, there's a waste ban on organic food waste, which does not apply to individuals, but it applies to facilities that any facility that makes more than 1 ton of food waste per week
Okay.
has to divert that to something useful.
Oh.
So it either gets composted, or there's something extremely cool called an anaerobic digester. So when I was talking about this food underground creating methane, they do it on purpose and then tap the methane to become electricity. So they make 1 megawatt an hour.
Wow.
They're impressive.
Okay.
So
I would like to find out more about that.
okay.
However, we're out of time.
Oh my gosh, really?
I
We are gonna
know.
do this again. Holy cow. Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't get to like
the
90% of my
crisis, or-
questions.
yeah, I know.
But anyway, no, I really want to thank you guys for coming because this has been entertaining as well as educational and informative and enlightening and all those other cool SAT words. So thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And thank you everyone for tuning in this evening. I hope you enjoyed our conversation as much as I did, and I hope you learned something about recycling. No straws, no no plastic bags.
That's right.
It's plastic, it's got to have a cover. You got to buy it with a cover. So,
And no
anyway,
food. Yep.
thank you very much for tuning in this evening, and have a great night, and I'll see you around town.